public policy. In other words, we're not going to have any social policy to reduce poverty, but we'll have a faith-based office. That's our poverty plan, you know. And I said from the start to President Bush, that's not going to work. It's one thing to mobilize resources at the grassroots and have a partnership. We need everybody to jump in here. But certain things only government can do. I mean, Katrina, all this talk about faith-based organizations were there first and fastest and effective. That's true. But churches can't rebuild levees. They can't provide health insurance for 47 million people. So how do you figure out who does what best and then figure out the partnership? That's what its potential is. I think Barack Obama, he said, this isn't going to replace sound public policy, but this will be a partnership. In the Bush administration, it became a Band-Aid to cover the sores of injustice while policy made things worse.
Let me read to you the concern of People for the American Way, quoted in Los Angeles Times today, greeting with alarm Obama's proposal to send federal money to churches, saying it's a bad idea, a tricky business. It would create both a constitutional problem and a logistical mess. That was Catherine Colbert saying, pitting oversight and accountability for public funds against the autonomy of churches, synagogues, and mosques. The Times, Los Angeles Times, goes on to say that whether Democratic presidential candidates like Clinton and Gore also have embraced federal funding for faith-based charities, congressional Democrats have led the charge against Bush's initiative. Talk about what People for the American Way is saying.
Well, People for it does a lot of good stuff. I think they're wrong on this. Before there was any faith-based initiative, Clinton, Gore, indeed did it, and Bush did too. More than half of our tax dollars overseas go through 3 organizations: Catholic Relief Services, World Vision, and CARE. 2 of them are faith-based. And I yet to hear of any examples of proselytizing, or it's a partnership with organizations on relief and development. So this has been done. Catholic Charities for years has served lots of poor people without any kind of constitutional problems. So this was done long before there was a faith-based initiative. What we have to do now is to involve more of the grassroots organizations, the mom-and-pop churches, the little storefront places. And I think it can be done within the framework of the Constitution. I think there's nothing wrong with a partnership, as long as tax money isn't being used for proselytizing, for worship services, for, you know, religious kinds of activities. But, you know, you got a Methodist church doing showers for homeless people, and then you got a secular group down the street doing the same thing. The ministers shouldn't not get money if there's shower money from the city to help pay for showers because they're a Methodist church. That's silly. Now, if you gotta become a Methodist before you get a shower, that's a problem. But I think there's ways to police that and make sure it doesn't happen.
Let me ask you about what you said on ABC News, Reverend Jim Wallis, that has caused a good deal of controversy. ABC News saying before the Democrats convene in Denver, the Reverend Jim Wallis plans to urge Barack Obama to go along with adding an abortion reduction plank to the party platform. You're quoted on ABC News saying abortion reduction should be a central Democratic Party plank in this election. I'll just say that flat out.
You know how the media likes to create stories. This was a classic example. I was interviewed by one of their producers, and my position is clear. I think between the right and the left, there's a common ground position. People who are pro-choice and those who are pro-life could agree that we have to reduce unwanted pregnancies dramatically and reduce the abortion rate. So it's concrete. Rosa DeLauro in the Congress and Tim Ryan are talking about an Abortion Reduction Act. It doesn't criminalize anybody. It just says, how can we reduce the numbers of abortion? That's been my position for a long time. I've talked to Republicans and Democrats about that. Barack and I have talked about that, and they acted like I was having a press conference and statement and going to demand this was going to be done. It's part of what I think would change the debate about abortion, because every year we have this debate, and it's an election year debate, and nothing happens in between. The abortion rate remains the same. What if we began to support low-income women, adoption, making it more friendly, less costly? Teenage pregnancy is a huge issue. We could work together to reduce unwanted teenage pregnancy. Let's work on the problem and not have this, legal battle which goes on forever and nothing ever changes. So abortion reduction isn't the same thing as criminalizing often a difficult or desperate choice.
I guess the question is, do you do it through restricting women's rights?
Well, most of the things in the abortion reduction language are not about restrictions. They're about supporting low-income women. They're about,
contraception.
Reducing unwanted pregnancy. They're about all kinds of programs that will reduce the number of unwanted pregnancies and reduce abortion.
Would it reduce money for clinics that provide abortion?
Well, the language, as I understand it, from Tim Ryan and Rosa DeLore in the Congress, is not about restrictions. It's about how we can proactively do things that can reduce abortion. I met a woman at a book signing. She says, my daughter's graduating from Harvard. I'm so excited. And because I teach her part-time, I thought she was telling me because of that. I said, well, that's great. You should be proud of her. She says, yes, when I was pregnant, though, I was a single mom and low income. And if I hadn't gotten food stamps and Medicaid, I would have aborted my child, would have aborted my daughter. And a tear came down. She says, tell people my story. Now, helping her is not a restriction. So I think there's a way we could have a conversation here to take this often divisive issue off the table for elections. I don't think this should be a huge election
And
issue.
Barack Obama, is he open to abortion reduction plank in the
I think,
Democratic Party platform?
I've in the past talked to Hillary Clinton about this and Barack Obama. I think Howard Dean. I think the Democrats are open to a new conversation that doesn't compromise their position on a woman's right to choose. I don't think they're going to do that. But how we can lead with the need for abortion reduction. But ABC saw there's a great story here. Friend of Obama calls him, that's what the news does.
Well, Jim Wallis, I want to thank you very much for being with us. Founder and president of Sojourners, the largest network of progressive Christians in the United States, author of a number of books, including The Great Awakening. And that does it for our broadcast. Democracy Now! Is produced by a remarkable group of people back in New York. Here at Grassroots TV, the oldest public access TV station, I want to thank John Masters and Rai Zupainsis and Brad Manswitz and Ellen Winter and Jack Minton and Ian Fellerman, Katie Carson, as well as Sabrina Kargas. Also want to thank Dennis Moynihan. I'm Amy Goodman. Thanks for joining.